Is fast charging really a necessity? Is it really a bottleneck for us today or in the next foreseeable 3, 4 years?
If this is Vilas from Aventus, I think if maybe I can share my thoughts about it. Fast charging may be needed in some applications which are mostly commercial vehicles, buses, trucks, which need to be running most of the time. But my opinion is for personal vehicles, which should be the first priority. I mean, actually, priority could be anything, but for personal vehicles like two-wheelers and four-wheelers, and maybe also to some extent three-wheelers, which do short commutes during the day and they don't generally run at night. I think slow charging at night should be good enough. And I am saying that not for just the sake of the utility, which is mostly going to happen during the day, and night time they are not being used. But if we start putting fast charging everywhere, in a lot of places, can you imagine the infrastructure and the power cables? And I think it's not a small uh, kind of thing we are trying to do. So I personally feel that fast charging is 100. It has its uses, but maybe not everywhere.
Basically, we had informed the community in last few meetings that we are working on a new model to engage our members. Uh, you know, uh, we have formed the CBO Community Council also to give us close air support in terms of feedback. That is also ongoing. But today we are about to launch our new membership model, where there are a couple of new additional things which we are doing, as we're building a consultant circle, which will be in a way the cost of it up to certain levels will be borne by the CBO, which then will be made available to members to access. We are also doubling our staff size. We are hiring senior staff members from very credible companies. Till date, we were a very young team supporting our members, but we are now bringing in our very good, credible set of senior staff to join us. And in a way, we have increased our operational budgets multiple times to effect that. We are also going to develop multiple more specializations in engineering team, design and prototyping support team, and the couple of new teams which we will form, which will further be of credible interest to our members. We will be investing in digital platforms. We will improve our community events. With every session, we will have more and more participants, more concrete directions and tools to track the progress, discussions, and decisions which we take as a community. And this is a part of the, I would say, our resolution for the new membership model which we are rolling out. I just wanted to update. This is the first monthly member meetup. I understand that out of 100, there's a fraction of members today which are present. But with the passing months, we will gain more traction, more members who are joining us. Will be the quality of interaction will increase, obviously. With that in mind, I'm happy to announce that there are more than 115 members who have joined us, and there are many more who are now joining. We are going to make very considerable efforts in zeroing down on more machinery as far as of 25 is concerned. Know how to tackle these scenarios. So over to you, Anna.
Yeah, thanks, Sir. I guess this conversation is going to be an informal one. Last time we had discussed that the broader scope umbrella of this conversation is that um, most of the community is represented or is a part of the Mysterious Studios. Uh, there are various kinds of people who are members from startups like us who are trying to make a electric two-wheeler vehicle, to component manufacturers, to larger OEMs who are also part of this network. So my intention was to look at a framework where we can come together, and work on our common problems, and so to speak, crowdsource the solutions required for the various problems that might be common to many within the community that we have, and this is a growing community. So just to give you an example, recently when we had proposed this, Mysterio Studio had put in touch with two more electric two-wheeler companies in India who are looking to uh, to basically place an order for alloy wheels, and they wanted to see if we can all get together and meet this large OEM and negotiate on the quantities and costing and so on and so forth. So, which I felt was a great opportunity to find out how these pricings would work eventually when you come to scale, which also helps us now to kind of fine tune our product costing, which is obviously the basis of which a lot of the funding is being sought in the market. So one of the specific problems that we have faced in the recent past is that we are working currently on the prototype that you see on our website is a 72 volt product system. We always wanted to look at a higher voltage system, which helps us to do two things. A, that the whole system would run a lot cooler, and the other thing is for us to be able to extract the maximum out of the motor that we have. So, whilst speaking with various battery manufacturers, battery pack manufacturers, BMS suppliers, we have realized that the industry is still working on predominantly 48, 60, and maybe some at 72 volt systems. So there is a lot of what you call anything that we do on a voltage system beyond that is an experiment, which even we are aware of that it is an experiment, but we have not been able to find willing participants in that experiment. Even if there have been some interests, the cost of conducting that experiment has been prohibitive for us as we are a startup bootstrapped so far. So I just wanted to understand if in the future within the community, we can help each other solve these various engineering or any other problems that a startup may have, with some of the community members would have probably already solved, and also to work out some sort of a monetary arrangement depending upon the solution, or how one sees that collaboration should happen unfold over either a period of time or one time. So this was just an exploration to look at how do we solve this problem, because most of the time as startups we are trying to raise money to solve problems that might have been already solved by the community at large. So a lot of the money and our efforts are wasted in reinventing the wheel. This is not to say that this will impinge upon any what you call proprietary technology that people might be working on. That is not the intention, and the parameters around which such a collaboration happens can be set in the onset. And if there are any issues of not trademark, but IPs or proprietary technologies, one can discuss and put that into such agreements. So that was one aspect specific to the challenges that we have been facing, and this is also the challenges that we have now seen, coming up with, as we see more and more electric two-wheelers coming out in the market. A lot of thermal runaways have been happening. So we also want to create a framework in which, although let's say the battery pack manufacturers come together and set up a certain parameter around which a certain warranty and a guarantee OEM like us can offer to our customers. So that should become the industry standard, or the gold standard against which various contracts are finalized. Like a lot of times when we are also negotiating with our future partners, we look at European standards or American standards, for us to fine tune our project proposals or our request for proposal RFPs. A lot of those standards need upgradation looking at the Indian context, our temperature ranges, the way we use our vehicles, so on and so forth. So we a lot of times look at our manufacturers because they have been testing that for a longer period of time in India that we would probably be testing that to begin with to put in our product. We would like to have some sort of a consensus on what those parameters are, so that a certain benchmark of safety, a certain benchmark of then later perhaps performance can be established in the market. That is another area that we can kind of all put our minds together and figure out a certain standard. Also, the other thing is when we look at prototyping, the stage that we are at, or let's say a batch manufacturing of a certain number. So the other challenge we face is connecting with OEMs and getting a pricing on certain modules like braking systems, like suspension units, wheels, so on and so forth. So the attempt of getting a couple of startups together and then basically providing a larger order or a future projection to a large OEM or a manufacturer helps fine tune our costs of our eventual products to a much greater degree if we were negotiating that individually with an OEM. So that's another area where if we can work out a system where we can post our problem areas, like there is a tracker on which we post our problems. Like for example, currently I posted that a lot of our hardware is all CAN enabled and we are developing a certain dashboard for it. But we are not being able to establish communication between the the CAN data that we are getting from our controller, for example, onto the microprocessor based hardware that we are using, that we're working on this platform. So again, that might be some problem that someone might have solved. There might be a ready-made solution to that, or there might have been some explorations in a possible solution that's already done, and we can then collaborate on fine-tuning that and taking that forward. So that was my overall general proposal, that if all of us or many of us are facing the same problems and we are doing so in the isolation of our own startups, we try and figure out if those problems have been solved, how much of that problem solving lies in the more in the intellectual property domain, if there are ways of monetizing that intellectual property that solution provider might have had, so as to reduce our dependency on external capital required to solve the same problems. So that was my larger area of maybe discussions, and possibly from those discussions we might come to some system might emerge where this can be done seamlessly and to everybody's benefit who's participating in such a system.
Thanks, Arnab. I think it's a very noble cause to bring in people together, and I think in past our community had initiated on certain open source projects. We could not work and proceed because there are multiple factors which needs to be addressed. You have to maintain the momentum, you have to ensure that prototyping and everything pools can be resourced. So those are still open. We can still trigger that in a couple of months and see, because as our senior staff join us, we'll surely have multiple, I would say, facilitation made available where people are senior people who can lead this project from even Micilio's side are deployed. But what is interesting here is how the community now can take up its own projects on its own instead of Micilio doing everything. Now, for example, in this case, Arnab from Forge is saying, okay, I have this interest. Many of us are maybe having a similar interest. So we can let our members lead certain projects at their own capacity. So, if now Arnab is also, basically an MCC, so he's a part of a council also. So he can be lended platform by us that, okay, you can trigger a discussion. It can be a project, it can be a discussion, it can be a series of 2 or 3 hackathons, depending on the consensus which you all arrive at. We are trying to make it more democratic. We're trying to make it more productive. Instead of giving us a rigid framework that it will be a project done for 2 years, we're letting you all decide that what is the best way moving forward. It need not be a intense project. It can be a simple discussion, solving problems together in theoretical fashion. Like it can be like that also. But because this is something which was under popular demand, and many of members said that we missed our open source project discussions because it was so interesting. In one meeting, we were solving so many problems, and there was no inhibition because it's anyways open source. You can all can speak, and whatever is contributed is available to all of you. Same way, I am basically inviting Arnav, and if some of you are interested, Arnav can lead a particular, I would say, hackathon sessions or similar discussions around high to start with high voltage battery packs. An associated model which Arnav is interested is how to pool in resources. I have pledged that, from Mycelium side, in case some of you are coming together to assure that you will like to use those resources, 2575 model, which is right now for testing validation equipment. We have Vilas from Avantos and Hamanta from Pico today on the call. I will request both of them to share their views. I have mentioned some points on the slide anyways. So we'll start with Vilas. I will request him to maybe explain quickly, what all concepts he has from his side, which the community should evaluate with respect to this particular direction. Over to you, Vilas.
Thanks, Hiten. I think the whole process is definitely not to highlight that why we are not getting funding. The point is to prepare the startup guys that there is a lot more going on in, when your business plan is not accepted, there is a lot more going on, so that their learning curve is less. Another thing which I will say is the celebrity. Where is the celebrity? Which I will, here. This is again something for the investors to actually maybe be aware of. They're always looking for some sort of celebrity in the company. It should be a college, it should be a board member, it should be a lead investor. They always say, you find a lead investor and we will fund you. Or a relative should be someone known, or a founder should be some celebrity. What is really sad is for the founders, the product is the celebrity. So rather than focusing on the product, they go all around the bush, So again, I will highlight this: respect the business plan, respect the time, and respect the founder. Saying no is, oh my God, it is so much welcome. And a negative feedback is so much welcome. But just disappearing after the presentation is not something very nice, frankly speaking. And some of the feedbacks which I have written is, like, for example, ad fund and family office, of course, so that we can get to know each other and make this process a little bit smooth. And also for us, like what I do want to say to most of the startup guys, like, for example, we have raised until now 6, and we have brought the product till homologation. It is launched. It will be launched. Will start sale in March, April. Till now, how have we received success is through lot of networking. So for people, if you want to raise funds, you don't start that day. Networking is really the key for what has worked till now. Many times, of course, friends and family have invested, but many times we have pitched to someone 6 months back or a year back, and then they continuously watch the market, they see what products are coming out the market, they compare your product with them, and they come back a year later. So I think that is something. So we are also trying to give solutions. And of course, investors' point of view will also be helpful, and we will also incorporate in this, in this document. But one point, Hemant, specifically regarding the why are we just looking at the the equity route, and why not loan and debt and all that stuff. We have been exploring that, and unfortunately the way it works in India is, if you go with the banks, um, they say we don't invest in funds, sorry, startups. You need to have minimum 3 years of balance sheet which shows revenue. If we are showing revenue, then that money is for expansion, that is not for startup. So, yeah, and for government of India also, they have come up with a lot of different 10,000 crores were declared for startups, and we, ran to Bank of Baroda and SBI and SIDBI, saying, oh, see, government has released this, and they say, oh, no, no, it's not for you, it's for people who have been running for 3 years and they have a balance sheet. So, debt from the investors also, we have been trying. But we agree with you. It's a hard work, and it takes time. And the idea of this document is to shorten. We hope that, we probably will also get our funding, or we have been receiving funding, but the big chunk, probably 100 or 102 or 200 pitches later. Through this document, we are trying to hope that other startups probably do it after 50 pitches. So,
Got it.
yeah.
Got it. In fact, a lot of things hold true again. Once I say a lot of things hold true because, the same experience also you'll have fintech and edtech companies having the same experience, that they follow up with an investor and they don't get too much of feedback. That is there. I would accept that, right? Fine. That, you know, just to be on top of their minds. And I can't solve this right now, but as in when I'd love to work with you in solving this. Let's figure out the right approach that works. There are pros and cons to everything, and the heartburn is real. Okay, the heartburn is real, and it is not a problem unique to this industry. It's a common problem. It's an industry-wide problem. It's across all industries.
Quickly cut in. I have maybe a confusion to add to this discussion.
Sure.
That is
Yeah.
when we hear about investments, when we hear about these valuations, etc., and unicorns in general, these are all software-based startups who have scalability built in. Means it doesn't take that much more to have 10 million downloads compared to 10 downloads. But comparing 10 vehicles to 10 million vehicles is a huge thing. Right, and for a lot of software, I talk to a lot of software founders. So for them, the MVP that they can get out is maybe 3 months, maximum 6 months, and then they go on searching for customers, onboarding them, and expanding. For hardware, when we talk about hardware founders, and I'm sure a lot of us can relate, getting a prototype out, getting a MVP out is like half the means requires half the money. I won't say half the journey, but it requires half the money, and it's very expensive. It requires maybe 4 5 years. If we see the life cycle of successful software companies, the companies they struggle first for a couple of years, 2 to 3 years they struggle, then they start getting their act together, then maybe in another 3 years or so they get good investment, they scale up. By the end of the fifth or sixth or seventh year, they are unicorns. And if we compare comparative hardware companies like Tesla or Ather, who received very good funding, they took between 6 to 8 years just to bring out their first product. So my question is that how when an investor looks for a quick return, an investor looks for something and that is natural. That is, they are supposed to do that. They look for quick returns. They look for a company that gives them 20x returns in 3 years. EV companies, I am not aware of any company that does that, that has that kind of scalability built in. We can give you 10x returns every year after 20 years, at
But
least hopefully.
yeah, but Sujoy, that returns actually is not in terms of you making profit. Those
Revenues, yeah.
are more of exit. So
Exit.
if you see the Zomato IPO, I don't know, they had the IPO after how many years of their starting, and even in their the IPO document, they had, I don't know exact language, but what was said was, we don't know when the profitability will happen. So the investors, I think, rather than, I'm sure they're looking for profitability, but I think, I don't know, I cannot comment for everyone, but they could also be looking, what are the chances of a good exit in terms of somebody buying that company or the company going for IPO.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The only point that I was trying to make, maybe I wandered around it too long. The only point I was trying to make is that software companies scale faster, and that is why they are tastier investments. So how do we compete?
Yes, you are absolutely right. That is exactly why, Vilas's graphs look like that. EdTech, FinTech at the top, right? Most of the FinTech investments are happening right now. Most of the EdTech investments are happening right now. Because with COVID, that is a sector which took an upturn, right? Many people many people were receptive to, receiving educational and money digitally. That's why EdTech and FinTech, kind of shot up. Yes, this industry is different. The gestation period of this, your development cycles are much longer. Okay, and that is true. It is probably always going to be like this, and which is why, Arnav tried to break the cycle. He said, fine, I need to get a product out first. Why reinvent the wheel, right? A software guy will have a lot of APIs to bank upon. He'll say, okay, fine, I'll take some of it from here, some of it from there, some of it from there, assemble and build a product, right? Arnav is trying to do the same thing. Let's look at what is existing and, tweak it in a way to break the cycle. I think the software industry, it's not like to like comparison, right? An elephant will give birth to one calf in 1.5 years. Rats multiply very fast. So it's not a like to like thing. But then there are also investors who invest in there are also social startups on the other side of the spectrum who have a far longer runway compared to what you have, and there are dedicated investors who focus only on the social sector. Okay, so which is why I said, starting with, let's focus on who are the right investors for this particular group, and let's only work with them.
So, thanks everyone. We have more or less completed all our agenda points for today. There have been some improvements, obviously. There have been some shortcomings. We will attempt to make these sessions more precise, with more larger community to participate. And we will also wait for all of you to present feedback. Have a nice day. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.